We're live.
Good evening, everyone. Okay, it says that I have very low, unstable connection, Callie. So, for those of you who are live with us, I'm sorry if I'm a little blurry. That always seems to be the issue with me living out in the countryside. So, hopefully, it'll get better. But if you're live, say hi. Let us know where you're watching us from. Help us share. We have an awesome show for you guys tonight. We're going to get to know our guests a little bit more and talk more about mental health and her platform. So, I think this is a topic that we can never talk about enough. I know there's already conversations. We've had conversations about mental health on our show before, and so have some of the other platforms that we've seen. But I feel like this is something that we can continue to go back and talk about it. And it's just, there's something new that comes up in the mental health field that we can really just dive in and talk more about. So, if you are live with us, say hi. Stay tuned for the conversation. We would really love it for you guys to engage with us. Help us share. And we'll get started in a couple minutes here. I've been feeling a little under the weather, so I'll try to mute myself when I go and cough so you guys don't hear me choking myself to death here. But we'll get started here in a sec. Oh, I am blurry, Kelly. I see it. Um, okay. All right.
Is your mic like super close to you, or where? I think it's you buzzing a little bit. Like sometimes they'll like be staticky a little bit, but not super bad.
I don't hear any buzz. Maybe it's. All right, you guys, if you're live with us, say hi so we know that you are with us. We'll get started here in a second. Yang Cheng says, I love her. She's such a beauty. I'm reading for her. Yes, she's so beautiful and such a great platform too. So we're excited to kind of get to know her better and talk more with her about her platform and what some of her goals are with that. So it'll be really interesting. Hi, Amy. Oh, yo, is it Elisa? Bye. Hello, how are you? All right, we'll get started in a sec here. You ready, Callie?
Yes.
Awesome. So tonight's show is actually sponsored by WACMA, a nonprofit out of Wisconsin that started a statewide initiative to address mental health for underserved communities, and they implemented Project Resiliency. Callie and I have been sharing a lot of their content and, making videos for them just so then, we bring awareness to the service that they now offer, which is a non-crisis Pierre ran warm line. They are available Monday through Friday from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Central Time. And you can call them at 1-800-293-7080. I am so excited for just for that warm line to be available for our Hmong people because right? They have folks who speak Hmong too. So if you know anyone who, especially our elderly community, sometimes right? And so they do have some folks who speak Hmong as well, who's going to be able to help with that. So Please help share when you see us share their information. Share out their information as well so we can get the word out. Anything to add to that, Kelly?
Nope.
All right, then I will pass it to you to bring on our guests.
All right, so tonight we have with us Daniela Thao. She also goes by Dani, and so she aspires to connect with people in a way that makes them feel safe to be themselves. She's currently pursuing her master's and license in marriage and family therapy, which we will definitely dive into. Passionate about helping others, she is an avid National Alliance on Mental Illness advocate and giving back to the community. She serves as a volunteer at Wishes and More, a local Minnesota nonprofit. She has been through the darkest places while healing, which is why she stands with us, committed to helping others find their light. And so with that, we are going to bring her on.
Hello.
Hi, Dani.
Hi. Hi, Kelly. Hi, Olivia.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm very excited to be here and to get into.
We were talking before the show, and you have a connection to me, and then you also have a connection to Olivia. Olivia, you're frozen again. I think Olivia's frozen. So hopefully she can get her connection back. But let's just talk a little bit about how we are connected. Oh, there she goes. Okay.
I don't know what happened.
Like, you know what? That would have been wild if you kept like the two of you and people would be like, what is going on?
I don't know what happened. Sorry.
But I was just saying that so Dani has a connection to us both. And so Dani, do you want to share your connection with Olivia first?
Yeah. I actually just found out that Olivia is from Merced. That's my hometown. Merced, California, if you're here. Hey. So yeah, I actually grew up in Beechwood.
Okay.
So I don't know where you grew up in town, Olivia, but
yeah, we lived in Beechwood. So my dad passed away. My mom remarried. We lived in Beechwood for a while, and then we lived in Atwater, and then we moved back into the apartments right across from the DMV.
Okay, I'm sure my parents know your parents then.
Probably. Yeah, it's a small world. Yeah.
It is so small.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then that goes into Kelly, and how I know her is through an old elementary school friend who's actually her sister-in-law, Sabrina. And I was just telling her, yeah, Sabrina and I went to elementary school. We were, thick as thieves in elementary school. We were always playing together, and so she definitely stuck with me through my childhood memories. And it's so interesting to see that she's sister-in-law of Kelly.
It's funny how the world works, y'all. I mean, I thought it, I'd ask her, like, because I thought she moved away like in third grade, right? So did you guys like just find each other, or how did y'all even?
I have no. It's just always been. We've always just stayed connected. I don't even know how. I think, with social media, we definitely reconnected probably about 10 years ago on Facebook or somehow. But I've always remembered her because she has a great personality. She's just very colorful and outgoing, and I've always loved her. And I just remember her being, and I would look at her and be like, oh my gosh, she just is so outgoing. So stuck in.
yeah, I think we definitely lucked out with that. I mean, we lucked out with all of our sister-in-laws, but definitely Sabrina is like so good for Tony, and they're expecting a baby, so really excited for that.
Congrats.
Such a small world, yeah.
No, the Hmong community is very tiny.
I know. All right, so let's just kind of dive right in, yeah. So Kelly kind of gave an really good intro view already, but prior to the pageantry and utilizing the platform for mental health, what were you doing before?
Yeah, it's a very interesting journey. So, gosh, I would say right after college, I got into med school, and I was actually in med school in the Caribbean, And, I disappointed my parents by telling them that I was dropping out. They were so proud. They, ever since I was a little girl, they had always thought that this was going to be the path that I would pursue. And when I came home and told them I don't want to go back, they were so disappointed and they were so sad. And ever since then, it has just transpired into different stages of my life where I've gotten into insurance, selling insurance, and I got into, working with startup companies in San Francisco, tech companies. And currently I work now as a national event manager for trade shows. So I travel around the US producing trade shows and conventions. So a lot of my time is spent on prepping those events, and I'm very fortunate because I get to work from home. So I get to be in Minnesota, but most of my time is spent in other cities. And that happened when I was living in San Francisco. So the company that I was working with, they were so amazing, and they decided to keep me on the remote team. So now I just travel with them. But before all that, gosh, I was living in San Francisco, and it was a very interesting, I guess, journey to say, but I am very excited to be where I am now.
Yeah, I think sometimes it takes a lot of self-discovery and exploring different jobs to really find out what you really like and what you're passionate about. So I think it's great. I mean, sucks that your parents are like, you disappointed us for getting out of med school, but I'm sure now they're super proud of you that you have a good job. You're utilizing your platform and different things for things that really matter. So kudos to you.
Okay, so I do want to talk about that again because I'm like the same. Yeah, it's so hard when like your parents have always had that dream for you, right? And
Mhm.
there is always this feeling of knowing that no matter what I do, right? My parents will always have that thing of, but you're not a doctor. I don't know if you feel that way. I don't know if anybody in our audience feel that way, but I know that to still be true, right? Like
Yeah.
no matter what I do, well, there is this one thing that I know that if I could do it, that my parents would not feel that way. That is not being a doctor, but I do feel like my parents still in the back of their mind, right? Like still have those thoughts. And like I told this story before about how when I passed my CPA exam and I called my mom, because I was so proud. Like my boss was so proud, like the partner was so proud, like everybody was so happy for me. And then I called my mom, and sorry, mom, sorry, not gonna tell the story, but I'm gonna tell it anyways. And so I'd like call my mom, and she's like, "Oh, okay." Like, so now does this mean that you'll go and be a, at that time it was like, go and be a pharmacist because I'd given up on the, MD dreams. And so I was like, does this mean you're going to be, a pharmacist? Like, are you going to go and pursue that now? Right. It's like, hold up. Like, I had just achieved this thing that I'm super excited about. And so I think so much of, like how we grew up and those expectations, unfortunately, and it's not to say that we don't love them and for, all the things that they've provided for us. I'm not saying that at all, but I do think it does affect a lot of our mental health and like those expectations and like becoming who we are and knowing that we still have to live for ourselves. And of course we don't want to disappoint our parents, but can you speak a little bit about that? Like, just like how, because you've gone, right? Like it wasn't like for me, I hadn't even gone, right? I was just going to my undergrad, right? I just taken physics and then I was like, oh heck no. Like
You teased them a little bit by going.
but Danny, like you actually went out of the country.
Yeah.
Like you have gotten in. So they're probably like, what the heck? All you gotta do is go and do the darn work.
Yeah, and that's the thing, right? It's like, okay, they had all these expectations, and here I am fulfilling these expectations for them. And finally, when I told them that I was dropping out, gosh, I could feel their disappointment in me. And I feel like that was a very big turning point in how my parents saw me, right? And from that point on, it felt like everything that I did was a failure to them. And it's not their fault, they had this big old dream for me, and here I am doing it. And the thing was, I was so unhappy. I remember being in med school, being in my room and just hating my life. And no matter what I did, I was not happy. Like, I'd study, hang out with my friends, try to, I would go to school from 7 a.m. and to 7 p.m. and I'd be there for 12 hours. And I remember I scheduled crying time because I was like, okay, I can only cry for 30 minutes today. And it was very depressing. And I didn't know that I had depression at that time. It was very life changing. And the thing was, it wasn't what I really wanted to do. And going through the motion of actually just studying and doing all that, I contemplated a lot on whether I wanted to continue pursuing this, because it wasn't just going to be for the next 2 or 3 years of school. That was my life. And I realized that's not how I wanted to spend my life. And I think it's a very noble profession to go into. And, being a doctor, it's almost godlike, where you have the ability to heal somebody. And that's always been a passion of mine. I've always wanted to work with people and heal them, and I just didn't know any other way. And growing up Hmong, your parents think, okay, you just grow up and be a doctor, but they don't even really like doctors. And that's the thing.
That is so true.
Yeah, they hate going to the doctors. They hate visiting them. They just know that being a doctor is the most prestigious thing that you could do as a profession, where you have the ability, the knowledge and the ability to be with other people and work at that capacity. I think it's just a very glorified Asian perspective. And definitely, yeah. I'm no, I know failure, and I know leaving things and dropping things just to fulfill something. And it seems selfish at that point, where it's like, okay, I'm going to pursue something that is more meaningful to me. And at that time, I didn't know what was meaningful to me. It wasn't until recently that I found meditation, therapy, life coaching, that really changed my life. So I'm very grateful of how all the things have unfolded in my life and where it's brought me.
Callie,
You want to go? I asked a really long question. I wasn't sure if you wanted to.
I know Kelly added an additional question there, which was really important. I think that this story in particular resonates with a lot of people, and overall, I think we all somewhat experience that, whether that's a doctor or lawyers is also another one that I hear a lot too. I think for me, it was more lawyer than doctor, because so they always thought that I would be a good lawyer, right? I thought I would be too. Just couldn't do it.
Right.
All right. So, kind of what inspired you to get into pageantry? I think that's something that, Callie and I had an episode on pageantry. And, we had, I think some people made some comments about it would be so great if they did XYZ. And then someone tagged us in this XYZ thing that happened, and we found you. And so I think, in the pageantry world for Hmong people, I feel like it might be a little different than it is when you're competing against like in the Mika platforms, So can you talk a little bit about what inspired you to get into pageantry?
Yeah. So actually, I really just wanted to start talking about mental health on a larger platform. So I wanted to utilize pageantry as a way to get out there to just speak about it. I talked to my life coach a lot about possibly starting my own life coaching business. And he always told me, like, you need to have authority in these spaces for people to really connect with you and to really believe in what you're saying. Because when you're just a random person speaking on the internet, it just seems like you're ranting to the world, and you're just, putting out these content and just to speak about it. But so I saw the opportunity to speak on a bigger platform about mental health. And that's just because I'm very passionate about it. And so I found this opportunity with Miss Global Mong. But, things unfold, I'm no stranger to quitting. So just the opportunities with Miss Global Mong just didn't align with what I was looking for. And so I've decided to take a different path and go with the American pageant system. I'm still, working on talking about mental health. And, as I go along, I definitely want to bring the Hmong people with me. And, it's not a normalized topic that we talk about in our community. So, and being Hmong, we're so underrepresented already in everything that we do, and so I just want to put myself out there and tell people, like, hey, no matter what you do, you can quit all you want. You can quit your life dreams, your parents' dreams for you, and find a whole new dream, a whole new passion. And pageantry really started as, a way to get my foot in the door to speak to a larger audience. And it has just turned into, hey, actually, there's more to pageantry than just walking the stage, looking pretty, taking pictures. It's an actual community where you have a sisterhood too. And the girls that I met in Miss Global Hmong, they are so amazing. I keep saying Hmong women are just so brilliant. All these women that I was in the pageant with, they are teachers, they are leaders, they are innovators in their field. And I don't think I would have met them if I hadn't joined Miss Global Hmong in the first place. So
Yeah, Hmong women have totally slayed this year. It's so crazy. And so of course, walking away from Miss Global Hmong, you're now the title holder for Miss Minnesota Global USA. And so how did that happen? Because we again, we initially, talked to you because of Miss Hmong Global, right? And then we saw that you stepped away, but then you took on this title. So did they how do you become Miss, Global Minnesota?
I am so happy to talk about this because I had no clue. I have a very fiery older sister, right? And when I told her I didn't want to pursue Miss Global Hmong anymore, she told me, she was like, you can't quit. You have to keep going. And I cannot speak Hmong, and I'm 31. So I was like, you know what? Going into a Hmong pageant system, it's just not an option, really. I think the cutoff age in a lot of Hmong pageants is 30. And so I just was tired of quitting. So I kept looking for other pageant systems, and Miss Global is actually one of those systems that have ages from 18 to 35. And that was another opportunity for me to continue being in the pageant system. And so for Miss Global USA, the national, each state has a title holder at large. If they do not have a pageant going on in that state, you apply, and then that organization, they go through their applications, and then they just pick you. So it's not a very hard process. I encourage anybody from every state. I know Florida, what was it? Ohio, I think maybe North Carolina, they have actual pageants where you compete. But Minnesota, I'm pretty sure California does not have one. So the title holder, it's still at large. So any of you Hmong women out there between the ages of 18 and 35, I encourage you to go out there. The application's open, and put yourself out there. And I didn't know where this would take me, but it has transpired into lots of opportunities and meeting new people. And I just love meeting people.
So did they have to like interview you, or did they just kind of select you from the applications that they received based on
Yeah.
like, what you put down?
So it's just based on what you put on your application, your headshots, and it's a very easy process. So yeah, the only contingency is that it's costly, being in the pageant system, but don't let that hold you back. Don't let that deter you from pursuing it.
Yeah. What are the requirements for, because like in the Hmong pageants, it's like good, you can't have kids, good, you can't be a pontao, you can't be all of these things. Like, are there stipulations in Miss Global Minnesota or the Miss Global sector that people have to consider if they want to do it?
Yeah. So you can have children and still compete for Miss Global USA, the national. The only thing is you can't be married. So you can be divorced, you can have kids, as long as you're not married and between the ages of 18 and 35, you're more than welcome to apply.
Yeah, that's great. Well, Kelly, you and I are out of luck for Miss Global Oregon. Oops, John 35 again. What's up?
For real.
I mean, you know what? I didn't even know that there were all sorts of pageants. There's a Miss, like MS system, and there's a Mrs. So if you're married with children, definitely look into that. The pageant system is just very large, and I had no clue that it went so deep. And, again, it's all about the sisterhood and the bonding and the people that you meet that really creates your experience.
Yeah, that's awesome. I mean, I think, I'm just so excited for like somebody in their 30s to compete, because I think a lot of times we feel like, our 20s are like the high times of our life, when like our 30s is like, what my mom would say, like, about that, and so it's just like the time that you're like most confident. But I feel like because of like the culture, like not just like our culture, but like the culture at large, we always think like, your 25s are your prime, and then 30 is like it, and you're supposed to be doing all the, like marry, house, kids and stuff by the time you're 30. But I think it's just like that's really just the high, like when you're starting to really grow into yourself.
Yeah, absolutely. I agree. And when I joined, I just kept telling myself, like, I'm the oldest, contestant. And that really affected me. And that's, self-talk. I'm telling myself, like, hey, you're the oldest one. Are you even capable of doing this? Like, look at all these young, beautiful, accomplished women. Like, why were you not there? And why can you? And that's not the point, right? The point is that I'm showing up now. I'm showing up today as myself at 31. And all these negative self-defeating thoughts that I have, they don't really matter, because it's not what I think. It's what I believe. And I believe that I have something important to, you know, an important message to pass on to the world. And that's about taking care of yourself mentally. And that's kind of contradictive of me to say, hey, like, you're 31, you can't do this. So here I am.
Yeah, so like what happens next? Like, do you compete at a higher level? Like, what, when is that, and how are you preparing for that next step?
Yeah. So as the title holder, I will go on to compete in Orlando, Florida in July for the title of Miss Global USA. So preparing, I'm doing, exactly the same things as I was doing for Miss Global Hmong. I just now have a longer time to prepare myself. So I'm working with a pageant coach, and I'm just working on refining and retuning everything that will get me on that stage to be my best self up there. So a lot of walking, practicing, interviewing, practice sitting. I didn't when I first met my coach and we did the walk, I did not notice how awkward I am when I walk. I was like, why do I walk like this?
You're gonna have to do take us on your journey of preparing yourself for Miss Global USA and post like a video of like before the coach and after the coach.
Oh, I was thinking the same thing. I was like, I should have captured my before walk because I literally, I don't know why, but it doesn't even feel like it. My shoulders were like very inward and I walk like a gorilla basically. Or it felt like that, you know? And that's how I felt. I was like, why do I walk so awkward? And so it actually takes a lot of practice to get out there and not even just in heels, you know. I when we were practicing, I was just in flats. And I was like, I can't even imagine walking in heels where your shoulders are back and it looks like you're just swaying out there. And so it's a lot of hard work. I thought it would just be walking out there and turning, and I was like, I was completely wrong.
So how many hours would you say like that you're preparing for, you know, like to compete? And like do you have like a voice coach? Do you have like somebody to help you like I don't know, like interview? Like what are just maybe you can get into the weeds a little bit about that process just for
Yeah.
those of us that have no idea.
Yeah, definitely. So I am working with just one coach, Andrea. And right now she's helping me go through the whole process because she was a prior pageant queen herself. And I think her title was Mrs. Northern or Continental. So she goes over the steps of walking and the interviews. Since I'm no longer in the Miss Global Long pageant, I've stepped away from the practice so I can focus on work and school as well. So right now we're on pause until after winter or after the new year comes, and then we'll get back onto practicing the walk and standing and posing and also the interview. That's a big portion of it as well, and how you present yourself, how you carry yourself, how you answer the questions, you sit, you walk in. It's a big process. And so we take it week by week.
Yeah. So do they start judging you the minute you like walk through the doors and then you sit down with them and they conduct the interview?
I
Is
feel
that
like,
why it's so important?
yeah, they start judging you as soon as they see you. They get a glimpse of you, and you know, um, as you get to your chair, let's say I'm gonna interview, I would walk to my chair and they're judging me from that point on and how I carry myself, how I get up, and I kind of feel like they judge you before where your
Mhm.
social media, how you carry yourself in that sphere. And because you're not only representing them on that stage or in public, you're representing them all the time when you're sleeping, when you're awake. And so yeah,
That's intense.
it's a lot of
But I
eyes.
guess it's almost like you go on a job, like interview for a job, right? The minute you walk in, and depending on whether you shake someone's hand or not, what you're wearing, how you carry yourself. Oh, thank you.
Yeah, and eye contact is very important.
Yeah, that is. Kelly, do we want to take the my Laura's question before we move on to
Yeah.
the next topic?
Yep. So she's got two questions. So the first one is she asked, we did a little research of the Miss Global pageant system. The pageant organization is still new. Is it?
Yes, actually, the Miss Global Pageant International is 10 years old. So they are fairly new, but they are a big organization. They have, people from or women from the Philippines, from what is it? All Vietnam, all other states and or countries. So there's Malaysia, and it's new, but it is very involved and it's very organized, and the people in it are very, experienced in pageantry.
Gotcha. Okay. And then one more question from her as well. If you can, would you compete for Miss Minnesota USA, the Miss USA Universe pageant system?
Knowing what I know now, yes, but I am unfortunately too old. The cutoff age is 28.
Oh,
So
lame.
I know. So if anyone else, you fall in between those age range, I say go for it. The only thing holding you back is really you.
Mhm.
Love it.
Yeah. I think you're so right. Like, I feel like, Callie, what you were saying earlier, like in your 20s, I feel like you're still kind of, most people are still discovering themselves. And I feel like in your 30s, you're like your own boss now. Like, you know what you want to do. So I feel like a lot of these organizations, they need to up the age for sure.
Yeah, because like in your 20s, you think you know everything,
Yeah.
right? You know, linh tư kia linh á, bị tình bao là
Lots of lessons learned.
But then, yeah, and then in your 30s, you're like, oh my goodness, like that was such a small, and I feel like that continues to happen every like decade, right? It's just like
Mhm.
you just start to learn more and know more, and I think with your experience and the things that you have gone through, I think Danny, like you're able to bring that to your platform and to really, like provide not only just your beauty but your gift to like the world.
Yeah, definitely. And I think about that all the time. Had I joined at 25, I would not have the confidence or even the understanding of where I am in my life to comprehend that, hey, this is not just you showing up on stage, this is you making a difference,
Mhm.
and there are plenty of women who are ready at that age and they're at that part in their life where hey, I'm ready to take on the world, and their experiences contribute to that. And I think age should not be a factor. I truly don't think that your beauty fades at after 29. Um, that's just very bogus. But
Speak for yourself, okay?
and
老祖宗满中满中秋的忠告呢 isn't that the song that you sung?
Oh my gosh. Yeah. And something very unique to the pageant system and for coming up in 2023 is Miss Universe is opening their um pageant system to married women, and that's going to be very life-changing to women who have
Yeah.
children and are married. And one of the things is, how can you not be a mother and a beauty pageant queen? Like, just because you're a mother doesn't mean you're automatically disqualified at
Mhm.
that point. So I think
Yeah,
it's
that's
very,
huge.
yeah,
Yeah.
it is.
I think that opens a door for a lot of other women who are older, who are more aware and have found themselves, like you said, in the confidence to make a bigger impact
Yeah.
now versus when they were like 21, you know?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. And who's to say, a mother does not have, I think motherhood brings so much life experience to anybody's life. And so adding that as a caveat to being a beauty queen as well, that's just very life changing and very inspiring for women all over.
Yeah. All right. So you talked a little bit about how you are currently paused right now with your coach because of school. So let's kind of jump into that a little bit. So you're currently pursuing your master's in license in marriage and family therapy. What made you interested specifically in this field?
So as we all went through the pandemic, I there was a period in my life where I couldn't stand myself. I couldn't stand my thoughts. I did not like what I was going through. And I just had to see somebody. So I saw a therapist, and it was very funny because at first I did not want to open up. I was like, "Oh, I'm okay." But why would I be seeing a therapist if I'm okay? So as those sessions went on and it progressed, I was diagnosed with depression and anxiety, and that was just very eye opening to me. And so having that diagnosis of myself and understanding of myself and how I got to that point really got me thinking, like, how many other people out there are in the same boat, who feel like there's something wrong with them, but they don't know what's wrong. They don't even really have the tools or resources around to help them, you know? And again, being Hmong, being so underrepresented, a lot of these things are not talked in our community, where it's like when you're sad, oh, you're just sad, just stop being sad. Or you just need to find a purpose in your life. Yeah, it's easy to say, you know, you need purpose in your life, but what the heck is my purpose? And how the heck do I find that, you know? So going through just life and sitting with myself and my thoughts, that really contributed to how or where I am now. I think a lot of it was just not understanding my own thoughts. And now that I do understand, like Kelly said, you know, you don't have the life experience. You didn't have the answers at that time. And that's exactly where I was. And so now that I do have the answers, and I'm reading and doing all these, you know, self-discovery things on my journey. And it's just really shown me that a lot of what I'm experiencing is not unique to just me. It's a lot of the world is going through it, and the pandemic really showed us how many people are fighting these types of battles.
So, why do you think the pandemic exposed us in a lot of ways that we didn't even really know, right? Because I feel like people in general, like our mental health is, you know, there's like a BC and then, you know, like an AC, right? Like before and after COVID, you know, I see that, and I don't know if it's, maybe it's always been there, and maybe, you know, it just did something, or, you know, but like, why do you think now is, you know, a good time to really focus on mental health?
Yeah, I think it just became more prominent during COVID because of being isolated from the world, right? And being social creatures of habit, we're so used to going out, and if I'm not, you know, if I don't feel comfortable being home alone, I can just go out and grab a drink with my girlfriends, or I can just go to their house. But the pandemic really, you know, stopped us and showed us like, hey, you cannot be doing these things anymore. And that really forced us to be with ourselves and face our own demons, you know, and look at it with a truth of, is this really me, or is this something, an idea or an opinion imposed onto me? And so the I would say the pandemic just highlighted a lot of our inner turmoil.
How do you think social media plays into that?
Gosh, I feel like this is such a big topic, and I feel social media definitely frames us on how we should look, how we should appear, you know, all those negative stigmas. But again, there are the positives as well. It connects us to the world, it connects us to society, and it really is a gift. I think technology has really advanced during the pandemic as well, and allowed us to connect with other people. I started utilizing social media more during the pandemic. And, you know, it's kind of a take it in doses kind of thing, you know, where too much is bad for you, but really limiting yourself and your exposure to social media is very important to your mental health. I think one of the biggest influences is Selena Gomez. You know, she talks about backing away from social media use because of everything that was going on around there, where, you know, when you're too wrapped up in it, you're looking at the comments about you, you're looking at your pictures over and over, what you could have done, what you should change, and how do you compare to all these beautiful men and women around. And I think that's the negative of social media use. But the positives is that it does connect us with the world around us, and it allows us to relate in a way that is very unspoken. Where if, you know, I can open my Instagram and see a post from somebody halfway across the world, and we have the same mutual feeling about our life. And it's like, how can that be, you know?
Yeah, I feel like there's something going around talking about how TikTok has like taught us, I can't remember verbatim what it says, but like, you know, like people cooking these delicious meal, right? And there's all these people good at dancing and, you know, people just looking like on vacation, you know? And so I think like during COVID, it really, you know, we're in this like false reality where we feel like everybody is so beautiful looking because, you know, you're all filters, right? And everyone's on vacation. And, you know, I think the nice thing about like reality is that you get to see people's pores, you get to see their imperfections, you get to see, you know, like days that they're off, right? But and like on social media, you just get like the highlight reels and you don't actually get the full picture of the person. And so, you know, I'm always like, if people need to unfollow, like unfollow the people that, you know, aren't serving you, like, and you can do that silently too, right? You don't have to announce to the world, like, I'm not following you anymore, right? You can silently unfollow because your mental health does matter, right? And like you can do that in the privacy and so of you know, like your own home and things like that. So follow the people that are adding to your life and unfollow all the things that aren't.
Yeah, I absolutely agree. And it doesn't have to be a big event that, you know, where you say, okay, this no longer contributes to my well-being and I don't want, you know, it's protecting your energy. It's protecting yourself and how you want to feel. And it's not bad to say this does not serve me in a higher purpose and I'm going to let this go because what I've learned about quitting is that, hey, you know, allowing yourself to let those things go and not holding on to those attachments of, you know, what should be or what could be, that really is empowering in itself.
So how far along are you on your master's? Are you almost done?
Today I just completed an
Yay.
official year.
Congratulations.
You. So I have one more year until I can take my boards and be certified as a therapist. So
That's exciting.
next year, hopefully, I can be providing services to the Hmong community.
So
Yeah.
Sing, Alex Sing, if you're watching this next year, please post her up. You know,
Yeah.
like I don't know if you've seen the Hmong American experience, but he does such a great job like highlighting all the graduates. And so it's always fun to see like all the, you know, new graduates.
Oh yeah, I love seeing it.
Yeah.
I love it.
That's so funny. Call him out, Callie. Call him out. All right, so let's kind of dive into, you know, gosh, I feel like you just do so much stuff. And so we want to kind of talk a little bit about your volunteer work and some of the other things you work on. And so, you know, we've noted that you volunteer for Wishes and More. And so could you tell us more about that nonprofit and the work that you do there?
Yeah, I've always loved volunteering with nonprofit organizations in San Francisco. Before I moved to Minnesota, I was part of the Lions Club, and I've also started a nonprofit there for young entrepreneurs. You know, being in the sphere of being in sales and all of that, you don't really have that authority, and so no one really understands where you're coming from when you're freshly new, or no one really wants to. I guess you don't have the credit to be like, oh, okay, I'm new in insurance and you should buy insurance from me. So yeah, I've just always had, you know, a place or compassion for volunteering and helping others. And so Wishes and More is a local nonprofit organization in Minnesota that helps fulfill wishes for kids between the ages of 0 and 19. They are battling life-threatening illnesses, and a lot of them are going through treatment in Minnesota hospitals. But these kids come from all over the nation. So if it is a child being treated in Minnesota, you can apply for the Wishes and More foundations. They have pamphlets and flyers all over the hospitals. And so a lot of these kids get their wishes fulfilled. It's not just a trip to Disneyland or Disney World, but recently, you know, the organization, they built a little house in some kid's backyard where they had their own little shed that turned into a home, and it was their little club. So a lot of the things that we do is just to kind of lift up their spirits and the families and support them going through this time. This organization is so unique because they do set up a scholarship for the child when they do go off to college eventually, because it's kind of showing them, hey, we believe in you. We believe that you're going to beat this, whatever that's happening, and you're going to go to college and you have this money set aside for you. So don't quit fighting for yourself. And it was very heartfelt and heartwarming to me when I, was choosing which organization I dedicate my time to. So I'm very happy that I chose this one.
That's like, I love that, because like, I think if you're battling something and you don't see a future, like that's very hard. So I think that's very actually quite genius for them to set a scholarship, because then it does give you that hope of somebody believing that that we're not just doing this for you because we know that something's going to happen, right? Like we actually, have faith that, things are going to be well. And I just like, it's been a while since I've like volunteered for anything, but I just feel like when you volunteer too, it really helps, like with your own mental health, because when you give back, like it does so much more for you. And so thank you for, that was a good reminder, because as Olivia was asking that and you're talking about it, I'm like, like it's been maybe I should look into volunteering and like, give back, right? Because that sense of gratitude is what helps us to fill our cup. Sometimes we feel like we can't give any more of ourselves, but I think when you give, you'll realize how much it does for you.
Absolutely. And it's definitely perspective. It just shows you how privileged you are as a human. And if you aren't as privileged, you also see that. And so I think if you are able to volunteer, get out there. It doesn't matter what you do, right? It doesn't matter how small you think the impact is, just showing up and holding space for somebody. I think that's volunteering in itself, where you're dedicating your time selflessly to somebody or to an organization. And that's really what counts.
Yeah. And we know you do a lot already, but is there anything else, any other interests that you have, anything that you do other than these things?
A lot of times when I'm not volunteering or working or doing pageant stuff, I spend a lot of my time with my dog. Um, I keep telling people it's so annoying that he loves the snow. He just adapted so well, and he's acting as if he's from here. So he's running in the snow, and he takes twice as long to go to the bathroom. I know it, because he's just like, I'm not done. I'm like, stop playing. So I moved to Minnesota to be closer to my family as well. And it's a lot of that is my time is dedicated to my family and spending time with them, because I haven't lived with them for I think almost 10 years. So I'm just excited to be closer and getting out there and building a new community.
Yeah. Yeah. I saw your video with your dog and I'm so jealous. Like, I really want a dog, and one day I'm going to get a dog.
A lot of work. It's a lot of work.
Yeah, definitely. How can people, speaking about going back just to the pageant a little bit, are you still looking for sponsors? Like, how can people support you in that journey?
Right now, I'm putting a pause on the sponsorships. But if you can, please follow me on Miss Minnesota Global USA on Facebook. There, I will be posting a lot more about my journey and how everything is turning out, and just my way to Florida.
Yeah, I think that's awesome. I think we don't have that page listed anywhere, but Kelly, maybe we can go back and kind of tag it so people can click on it and follow Danny for her journey. I know I will be following, cheering you on. You've got some time though. It's like in July, right?
Yeah.
So the competition isn't until July.
Yes.
So How can people just connect with you overall? Like if they've got questions about pageantry or just your platform, how can people connect with you?
Yeah, you can find me on Facebook or Instagram. My Facebook name is Danny Adele. And on Instagram, I'm Danny Adele _official. Feel free to send me questions. I like to think that I'm a very open book. You can ask me questions about pageantry or mental health or volunteering or event management, anything really. Quitting, I'm no stranger to that. So really, I just really want to help people as much as I can and just to elevate them and get them to that point where they feel like, hey, I've made it.
Awesome. And then any last words before we let you go?
Thank you, Kelly and Olivia, so much for having me on All That Talk. I was so nervous. I'm so new to all of this. So I'm just very grateful for this time with both of you. And thank you, the audience.
Yeah. One little good luck wish from Serena Shang Yang. She says, "Good luck to you, Danny. You're so beautiful, and thanks for representing us."
Thank you.
Yeah, so thank you so much for being with us and just representing. Like Serena says, I think it's back to earlier when you were saying, oh, if I was younger, I could have got but I think you just like every time you make a wave, like there's other people that are always watching that are needing that extra pump to like make their own wave, right? And so I think I think sometimes like we don't want to take the step, or we feel like why does what I do matter? But it really does matter, and the things that we do and the people that see us, we touch their lives in different ways. And so thank you so much for being brave and showing us that quitting means winning, and quitting is not just quitting. I think when you the more that you quit, the more that you actually know what it is that you are truly meant for. And if you say yes to everything, then you become absolutely nothing. And so I think and quitting is a way that you can really begin to find what your purpose in life is. And so thank you for showing us that, and we are just so excited. And please let us know if there's any way that we can further support you or help you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, and thank you everyone for being with us tonight. Please go and support Danny on her pages. We will definitely share those over on All That Talk. Thank you for always joining us and being here with us. We believe that conversations drive change, and change starts with you. And with that, we are going to see you guys tomorrow because we have someone else special coming on our show. So please be sure to tune in. Have a good night, everyone. Bye.
Thank you. Good night.